Welcome everybody. So this is just a quick run through how we can go and create a wave tank, or you can start with a flat tank and convert it to a wave tank that you connect it to a spectrum and create or import a model that will swim or dive through the ocean. So this is the, as you can see here in this preview, this is the ocean, or where we simulated the flip, and this is the extension, and it's also rendered in Karma. The remaining of the project still in render, so it's taking time. So this is just a couple of frames. I went out and created them so I can go ahead with the tutorial. Okay, this is from couple of view to camera, white water and spray and foam beneath the surface. So let's stop here. So first thing we'll talk about is importing the model that we want to include it in the simulation. So this is the model. Initially it is left scene, Control G. So this is the model. As you can see, fairly low res, already textured, and has a fans that's rotating at the back. So it's look like half submarine. Yeah, it's like it's a submarine. Maybe we can add some lights in here. So we imported the model, and these are the textures that we use in it. So I take it out, and I went here and I go ahead and imported it and make it in a proper scale. I increase because it was so tiny. Mass size, so I can make it at the bottom or at the center of the or origin of the grid. Then I make a split because I want these fins that's rotating, so when they rotate they will interact with the water surface. I made the pivot point in the middle of it. I'm using this expression $CX, $CY, and $CZ, and after I wrote these, I make them as a center pivot, like a save preset for it. Okay. Then I had a couple of issues because this is a low poly model, and the normal are flipped on both sides. So I fused them. After that, I check the connectivity. This is the connectivity. Just let it load. So it will generate a class attribute. Then I went with the for each loop, like this, for each, so I can rotate on each one through the connected pieces. But eventually I ended up not using the class. I just want to use every polygon. So if I go here, see, I'm using Control G. I'm working on the polygon because as a class, as a connected pieces, they are flipped normal, and I just wanted to be extruded a little bit to have some thickness. So this is the end. As an extrusion, then I merge it back with the rest of the shape, and here at the top in the transform I make it in red. I put this minus $FF multiplied by 10, so it will rotate in this way. Okay, so it will react with the water. After that I prepare it to go through the VDB or collision, couple of transfer just to make it a little bit beneath the surface, and minor animation, not just a straight line sort of. I didn't go up and down, just because I'm in a testing phase. Then I did a VDB from it, low VDB, as you can see, and I make it a little bit eroded, bigger. So So I use the VDB reshape SDF. So I'm dilating it by 1, so it's bigger little bit, so it can react and collide with the water. And I have VDB null out and geometry null out. So this was the preparing of the model, and here also we will prepare it through the DOB network. So we have the AutoDOB network here, and the part regarding this model, let's go inside, give it a second. So either you can go to the collision and add deforming objects, so it will create it for you, but in a nutshell what you need is one thing: static object that's pointing to that outfollow that's in here, object, the one that we created, this one, outfollow, we add it here. And because you are interacting with water, so we use volume collision, we choose volume sample, and in the proxy sample we add the VDB submission, so it's in here, and we make sure that it is using deforming geometry. We connect it to a static solver, which is not needed, and we hook it up to the rest of the flat tank that we'll talk about soon. So now we are in the second phase, that we want to prepare the wave tank and take it out from the flat tank. So if you go to the ocean tab somewhere here, you end up with all of these, the small and large. You will just create spectrum wave without any flip interaction or simulation. Guided ocean, it will follow the geometry while it's moving. Beach, if you have beach, and it will create Tiran, so the velocity will decrease when it reaches the shore. Flat tank, the ocean flat tank is a flat tank with a spectrum added to it. So you can start with the flat tank and modify it, and after you finish you go to the white water. So here when you create it, you will end up with mainly 3 or 4. So it will create, as we mentioned, flat tank initial. This is where you prepare your fluid and ocean. We have the DOB network, and this is where you import your simulation, or you can use the extended vendor, so you can have this big surface. And the idea here, we'll use the displacement map and masking. So karma or mantra will displace the wave here, and the mask will prevent the low wave from coming in because it's already simulated here. So if you go here, flat tank initial, give it a second, this will be created automatically. So in the flat tank you will have less than the ocean flat tank, and this you can add it later. So you will import the geometry of the submarine, as you can see here. No need to bring the VDB, this one, bring this one, because VDB will be converted to geometry again, so it can be seen here, which is taking a lot of time in case you have any collision on the surface. This is the wave tank. I kept it 0.08. I'll just make it one second, as 1, just for the sake of demonstration. Okay, and I make it in a way that the shape is a little bit in the front, and we have a space back so we can see the wave. This is how it is following. So you are taking the centroid of that submarine, and I added or I did subtract 15 units from it, so it's a little bit in the front and in the back. Okay, other thing is here, it's a flat tank. But here I took the surface evaluation as ocean. If it's a flat, it will be flat as you can see here. Let's give it a second. See, very straight line. Because I connected an ocean spectrum, so I can have some waves, I change it here as an ocean, but I kept it all in all as a flat tank, so I can use the narrow band. And for the narrow band, I need to have two things. I need to have the particles, which they are here. As you can see, we have points, which is particles, and we need also the surface, which is a volume, one volume called surface. So these two are needed initially for the flip simulation to work as a narrow band. This is the spectrum. That's how it's moving. I make it to move against the submarine so it can collide with it. And here I did something else. Yeah, I went to the ocean evaluate itself, to the volume, and I activate the velocity, so I have some volume. It's low res, but it's okay. It should be bigger, the same size of the wave tank. Then I convert it to VDB, so I have 3 volumes, and I use VDB vector merge, so I have a vector volume with 3 value all combined together. Then I put it on, so I can import it there, the top. Now here we will talk about simulating the wave tank. So we'll go to the Autodub network, and it's not big. This is the submarine that we merged as deforming geometry. Here I have my flip object, and in initial run C I change it to narrow band. I added the sub path to the particles that is in initiate here. So here for the sub path I use out initial particle, and the surface volume I use this one, and also I can use the velocity here and add it here, but already this one was created with the volume source. And 3 or 4 ways you can add your velocity. One of them, I use the volume source that's pointing out to this null, and here I'm doing it as a vector because it's a vector, and adding it to the velocity target. Top mask you can add the surface, so it will not be everywhere, but because it's a small velocity I didn't add it here, but here you can write surface, so it will not propagate all the way up to the top. And I use bolt, so it will be smooth. That's why I have also low resolution, so it's not crazy, it's not fast moving tank. In the flip solver I keep the sub steps. Particle motion receding is enabled because of the moving of the tank. No separation. I didn't add droplet, I didn't add vorticity, which advisable that you do it. In the volume motion, fill a new volume because we are moving. Use water line, this water line, because you want the tank, whatever when it's moving, whatever wave coming out will be deleted, and it will not be deleted below this one. It will be just refilled because this one is moving also. Use boundary, it's turned on also, so whatever wave is coming here, it can be suppressed here or here all the way. So if it go down, it will suppress it, and if it go refill it, so particle will flow in again, the water. If it's high, it will make it down also, and make sure it is filled, especially when we are moving, so it's creating a new particle in that way, like this. Yeah. After that, that's it. We're done with this area, and we go to importing the wave tank that we created it. So here you go first to the flat tank fluid, which is turned on by default. or the flag is enabled. The fluid will be imported through the desktop network, and it will be compressed, and after compression you should cache it, which is being cached here, and this is the preview. And as you can see, because the submarine is here, so it is removed, and this is the narrowband. So if we make it run, maybe we can choose a frame in the middle, something 120. We can examine. So as you can see, the coloring is due to the velocity. So this all is projected by the submarine. We go down, these are the rebel or the fans that's moving and pushing the water outside, so that we can use it in the white water to add more spray and more particles. And this is, as you can see here, it's being suppressed, but it's respecting the spectrum wave that we created in the first place in the initial phase, so it's following it. Then we go and we create the surfacing for the wave tank. That's the geometry that will be rendered. And for this one, we will, as we disabled here we disabled the flag here, and we enabled the flag in the extended version. Let it just load in and just cancel it. And this is the network you will end up with. We are importing the cache fluid, but I change it to the null because already I cache it. So here in the, where is it, fluid, not fluid initial, sorry, in the fluid here that we imported, because it's pointing to this one, already we cache it here, so I created a null and I pointed to it. Okay, so I'm having the compressed version, the boxes. Then I created particle surface. And the way we created it is by extending its surrounding area. So in a nutshell, the surfacing here, voxel size scale is documented to be between 50 to 55. I kept it as default just to experiment, and the influence scale better to be 2. Surface polygon soup, vorticity we didn't do it, we didn't create it, all the rest. So the motion is motion blur will not be calculated. Here I left it open, grade, and here I use bounding box, and I'm not using close boundary. I'm using flattening geometry, adaptive, better to be none, faster but doesn't make that difference, and plan, and the shape is rectangle. And down here the extrusion as a planar, I make it 200. You say you want it 400, it will increase. Okay, up to you. So I'll just put it 200. Then I surface it and cache it. On the other part here we are doing the masks. We have the high frequency mask. I want to open it here so we can see it better. Just give it a second. So this is the high frequency, and this is the low frequency mask. So if I choose something like this frame, so we can see the red masking. So as you can see, this is the mask. The red area will not prevent the displacement of these waves. See, and the rest will be affected by the displacement. Important thing is you cache the spectra, only one frame, and you cache the mask, the whole range of animation, so it can be read out by the mantra or karma. It will be included in the shader. If you go to the shader here, material, not this one, in the ocean surface, because this one is being rendered with the ocean surface. Give it a second. Yeah, as we mentioned, because here the render, the material that we are assigning is the ocean surface. Here, let's give it a second. Here in the ocean surface, in the displacement, we're pointing to the spectrum. We're pointing to it, and the mask, we're pointing to that animation that we did. Okay, and after that we cache it all. Now we move to the third phase, that's sourcing the white water. Already we finished with the water tank and we simulate it, we surface it, and we still have that top network there. So we create the surfacing of the sourcing of the white water, because we need to do the sourcing, simulation, and resimulation to increase the spray, and then importing it and caching it. So we are here now. So from ocean or from particle fluid, the white water, this icon is the same, and it's better that you use it, so it will do all the preparation for you. So you start with the white source, and you have a white water. Let's go here first, white water simulation and the importing. So in the source, let's go in. First it will import the compressed fluid, which we are pointing to the null because already we cache it. It's being cached, and then this is the cached one. The white source node will start to generate the volume where is the particle to be generated from, depending on the curvature, the acceleration, and a couple of more parameters to emit from it, like the emission. The default setting is okay, you can experiment with it. Let's go to somewhere in the middle, and the curvature, how much the angle of the rotation of the waves or of the water. Let me visualize it so you can see it also. And acceleration, so you can control the speed. The more volume and particle you have, the more splash you will have, but it will be in the millions, a lot of particles. It will drag down the PC to a hull. Okay, so after that you cache it, so it will not load from the memory when you are simulating. It will be on the hard disk. Another frame, and in this one, let's wait for it to load. It's bad idea and to do, still not responding. It's freezing, so I'm waiting. I don't know if it's recording or not. I'll go up. Let's wait for it. So after sourcing, we do the simulation in here. So in the white water simulation, to see if this one responds or no. So in the white water simulation, I disable it so it will respond a little bit faster, hopefully. So here we have the submarine. We brought it from that Autotop network. Here we have the white water object that will save all the data that's being generated. I'll make auto update to manual, so it will respond faster. So this is the white water object. I didn't do anything in here. So simulating the white water. So in the white water solver, I scaled, I'll just make it 1. Already I put it as manual and I stop it, so it won't, supposed not to react. Voxel size I went down to 125. Emission I increase it, make it 2. And I change the seed because I have another white water that's running, that will be running for the spray. So I have different seed. This is by default, I kept it. The force I kept it the same. This is where the buoyancy will be affecting. So this is where is the water surface, so it will move the white water, which is called here as bubble, to go up.